Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is September 10th, and we're doing government and social stories to start your week. Let's start the week with a what would you choose question for engagement purposes. So here's your scenario. Everyone finds you incredibly good looking, but thinks you're annoying. Or everyone finds you ugly, but thinks you're the best.
Either one of them's going to be an improvement, right?
Yeah. Ugly and annoying, so...
I would rather not be annoying.
Yeah, I think I'd rather, it's easier to influence people if you're...
I really dislike annoying people. But everybody's got their own gauge of annoying, right? So annoying to one person is...
Well, it's true of beauty as well.
So how can your magic spell?
It's probably like a hag spell where it's like there's a secret clause in there. Yeah.
So when I speak, it just transforms it into whatever they want to hear.
Yeah, but then that gets you in trouble at work because you promise things that you can't actually deliver.
You could become a politician. No one ever seems to remember the things they promise.
This feels like a monkey's paw type of situation we could write up.
That should be an extra bingo square. Someone other than me said monkey's paw on the level 1 bingo.
I don't think we have monkey's paw in there, but we should put it there.
I didn't realize monkey's paw was yours.
We've said that a few times, though.
It's not. I just say it to the point that it's so completely overused. It's crazy.
Well, you know what else is overused is Nvidia using this country and this world as their personal piggy bank. And the Department of Justice ain't having it.
The Reuters headline is Nvidia gets subpoenaed from US DoJ, according to Bloomberg News reports. And this really isn't anything yet. It's just the DOJ is looking around and saying, wow.
That sure is a lot of leather jackets.
Yeah, the AI thing, Nvidia is still dominating, even though certainly AMD has a viable product, and maybe Intel is coming not far behind with their Gaudi products. But they're having a hard time unseating Nvidia as the incumbent. Why is that? Has something nefarious happened? So that's what the DOJ is asking. They're not accusing Nvidia of anything. They're just asking if Nvidia is going to incriminate themselves.
But what we know about the tech companies, the answer is yes. They are doing something. They are... Behind the scenes, we're going to get something that comes out that shows that they're anti-competitive. Shocking.
I think Steve's got the goods on this from the gaming side of it. The whole GeForce partner program thing. This is probably going to come back to haunt them, even though that's pushing a decade old.
Is that why he posted a picture of himself in front of the giant board of
No,
that's something else.
That's EK water blocks. He's figured out something there, which is
it's all connected.
This is amazing.
Well, some bad news, but this is just another in the long line of appellate courts. It's ridiculous. We need checks and balances, but at this point, it's insane because you can never actually get a decision. It just keeps going in circles.
The Internet Archive, digital lending is not fair use, the Second Circuit Court says. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with the reasoning. I don't agree with there's just so much that I don't agree with. But basically, they're saying that even if you own a copy of a book and you transform it into a digital copy of a book, that is neither a transformative use nor a reasonable use of copyrighted material. They apparently forgot the first sale doctrine, which goes back to the 19th century, which is frustrating.
The Internet Archive showed statistics that said that the book sales were not affected. The judge said, well, that's just regular books, not ebooks. You didn't put ebooks in here, so I'm throwing that out. There was a lot of little weird things here that makes me think that this judge was always planning to rule this way.
We should do a video, but I'm actually kind of legit scared of doing a video that is, hey, I own this media. I would like to make a backup copy of this media. I think that's reasonable. That's probably not. I have a book. I'd like to format shift a book.
Wasn't there just a headline about your Canada bro getting in trouble for something similar to that? Yeah. Which, that's a major player on YouTube when they're like, we don't care.
Yeah.
You're actually not the important part of this equation, bro. Sorry.
Which is horrifying. And that should horrify you too in the audience. It really should.
I'm shaking in my boots.
What are we? Okay, how do we transform that? There is enough of us. We can change the law to codified things that are reasonable.
We can't change the law. We can ask them to.
There are enough of us by the numbers. Are you saying there's not enough of us by the dollars? Because that's something else.
Yeah.
Well, as Joe Biden says, do you have F-16s? Because that's what it'll take. And speaking of the military, we have the people out there defending democracy, but there's also operational security. And you have to be really concerned about that because there are legitimately a lot of people looking to kill you. And one of the ways that you want to avoid giving away your position is not broadcasting it into space.
How Navy chiefs conspired to get themselves illegal warship Wi-Fi. So they surreptitiously installed Starlink along with a Wi-Fi network called STINKY. And this is a warship that it was going on a mission, and it's supposed to go dark, radio dark for that. And it was like, but we still want some Wi-Fis. Can we have some Wi-Fis?
We need to make our TikToks and give away our position even more.
Spoiler alert, that was not okay.
In fact, explicitly banned. But even worse than that, the excuse, that young lady I showed you right there, she was the mess chief. Does that have to do with the cooking?
Mess hall, I would think. Yeah.
But why would they be chiefs? Someone in the Navy can
Yeah,
fill
tell
us
us.
in.
Yeah, I don't know the rules about that.
But she set it up, covertly ordered the Starlink and got it delivered to a port of call, took everybody's money, set up a checking account to pay the monthly bill, and to get on it, you had to go to her and she entered the password into your device. So it was very controlled.
But it still would give away your position if you were on a mission.
Right.
And
Wow.
what got them wasn't that the military has like all these, ways of checking for that. No, it was the underlings, the lower ranked people was like, we want to be part of Stinky. I mean, think
It's a
about
very exclusive club, and then eventually word gets out about the exclusive club.
well, think about how word gets out in like a small town.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
shrink that down into a ship.
Yeah, it probably lasted, 24 hours, you think? Like,
No, it actually lasted, I don't remember how long, but it lasted
Long
quite a
time.
while.
Really?
Yeah, they got away with it for a while. Amazing. And here's one that we've talked about before. Again, every year at DEF CON, every year we learn this lesson over and over, and yet we never do anything about it.
Hacking blind spots states to struggle to vet coders of election software.
everybody's outsourcing.
Yeah, I've looked into this. It really is the equivalent of, I'm going to build an apartment complex, and I really need a construction crew to build that apartment complex for me. I'm going to solicit bids from the local constabulary. And then it's, oh, look at that. A bunch of Venezuelans have shown up, and they're going to do the whole thing for like $5. That's weird, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, and then all of a sudden I can't use my apartment complex. It's so weird.
So,
It's like that with voting software.
But instead of Venezuelans, it was literally Russians, or maybe Ukrainians speaking Russian, but for some reason it called back to a server in Russia or had some code in it that could do that. They also used the, what's the JavaScript library from the, is it Core.js?
Node.js, Core.js.
I can't remember. But there's a JavaScript library that we did a story about previously that is known to be from a Russian developer, and it got banned. That was part of this.
Why did the voting machines need internet access? That seems weird.
So nothing's going to happen about this, though. And this Politico obviously just fell all over themselves to be like, now the conspiracy theorists are going to love this, but it's not that. It's not that.
I like how there's a lot of academics that have come up with ways that we can have cryptographically provable, fair electronic voting. But it's weird how none of these machines never seem to want to implement that.
It is weird. But this is not weird. This is obvious. And, well, it's not obvious, but it's a clever hack on a broken system that is not actually paying anyone what they are worth, but rather just scraping as much as it can and doing the bare minimum and being ripe for corruption.
Feds indict musician on landmark massive streaming fraud charges.
I think this guy musician's maybe a little kind, but
I don't even think he personally ran the AI. He farmed that out.
This is an individual who used AI to create a bunch of music and then had a bunch of bots listen to the music that he created. Now, what's really interesting here is that this says this defrauds other artists and streaming services, which should set off alarm bells. That whoever wrote this Rolling Stone article really didn't look into that, because That suggests there's a finite money pot in these streaming services, and that it's basically lottery. Whoever has the most popular music gets the money. When it should be volume based. Like if Spotify is selling ads or subscriptions or whatever, you have a finite amount of time to listen. So if 1,000 subscribers only listen to AI generated music, then the AI, and that's paid for by ads or subscription money, then that money should go to the individual. That should not affect how much money other artists are getting. And yet.
But it would, because his clicks were completely fake. So if you chopped his clicks off the total, the pie would get bigger. It's not lottery. It's not random.
Well, how that means they took, Spotify would have, theoretically, I would think, taken ad money in order to subsidize the streams in the first place. And that ad money did go fraudulently to bots. And so they would have to refund advertisers from the pot of money. But this doesn't talk about that.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't do that.
Well, they also mentioned you have to have, I think, 1,000 streams before they'll pay out, something like that.
He has a quote. If you're wondering, well, this could all be a misunderstanding, there's a quote in here of him. I guess they got hold of his emails. And he was emailing the guys he was conspiring with and saying, we need to spread this out over a lot of songs rather than do just 4 or 5, so it's obvious. So.
That seems like conspiratorial. Yeah.
Because people listen to music and they listen to everything equally. They don't have favorite songs.
Well, I'd say the people he was farming the AI work out to was like, why do we need to make 10,000 songs? And he was like, oh, let me explain it to you. Here's the scam.
I think the dollar numbers, even not with all of that, if you think about how much some of the big artists have complained, people have streamed my song 10 million times and I didn't even get $100,000. That doesn't line up with the numbers in this.
Oh, I'm sure Spotify's playing games with those numbers. Yeah.
The theme this week is the distribution platform is not worth that much. This is true of the Internet Archive and publishers. It's like publishers should be scamming 10% off the top at most. I should have said skimming, but I said scamming. And I think scamming probably works better.
It seems like you're tiptoeing around the idea that anything that gets massively centralized is ripe for corruption.
That seems like that's a thing, yeah. Uniswap Labs beset by regulators for building a decentralized exchange. So they're attacking Uniswap because Uniswap has had $3 trillion in crypto transactions, and it is decentralized. It's implemented in smart contracts on a whole bunch of cryptocurrency networks. The regulators seem to be focusing on something they deem as improper, specifically with Ethereum as the thin end of the wedge to try to blow this thing open, but they don't like that it's not centralized so that controls can be implemented.
They also went after them for contracts that were more than just 1-to-1 with whatever the asset was. It was weighted. You do ultra short and ultra long that gives you more if it goes in one direction. They didn't like that. They felt like that was a security. Maybe it is. And also they referred to Ethereum as the opposite of what the SEC has ruled Ethereum is.
It occurred to me in reading this that the thing, the definition of a security, the way that they're defining it, is you remember when the N95 masks went crazy, went asymptotic in terms of how much they cost during the thing? And the people that bought N95 masks and were selling N95 masks, it's well, in this context, an N95 mask is a security. And it's that's how I read some of the arguments for the cryptocurrency in this.
I think the real argument is we can't compete with fair money. So we're going to have to do something about that.
I think cryptocurrency is anything but fair, but the almost sociopathic compulsion to try to control it really does seem to be laid bare in this operation. I don't think this is Gensler, right? Because Gensler was super militantly anti-crypto.
I don't think it's directly him. I said regulators, but I don't know if it was the CFTC. Yeah, CFTC. Gensler's the SEC.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure he's lining up. And this is, we got to come up with the name of our award of the guy or the person who raised their hand, right? We got to find a
We haven't thought of a
way to say
catchphrase, but yeah, this guy
But
definitely qualifies.
I want to do a Nobel Prize, a Pulitzer Prize. If you're the person who stood in the face of the corruption and the monstrosity, and you said, wait a minute, guys, we shouldn't do this, you should get some sort of monetary award.
We'll send you a mug.
This would be a great candidate.
City of Columbus sues man after he discloses the severity of a ransomware attack. They didn't just sue him. They obtained a TRO, a temporary restraining order, which is, hey, judge, if this person even does anything, it's going to be extraordinarily bad. But this person didn't do anything bad. He simply proved that the information exfiltrated from the city was a lot worse than what the mayor and others were saying. I'm not going to be able to read that.
This is not about freedom of speech or whistleblowing, he said. This is about it's hard to read.
It's so small.
Downloading and disclosure of, I can't read it. Let me paraphrase.
Stolen criminal records.
They said normal people would not be able to get to the dark web. That's some voodoo that only this man can do. And by going to the dark web and downloading these documents, he was guilty of the crime. Not them, for covering up the fact that it was out there and lying about what was actually in the report. Because they said people won't be able to get to this. That was a lie. They said it doesn't contain any compromising information. That was a lie.
Social Securities were in it.
They said it was corrupted or otherwise broken and that you couldn't access it. Completely untrue.
The court case read, wasn't there there was something like this in a canticle for Leibowitz, right? Where they were like, only this person knows, and it's like, what?
They can see that.
Oh, sorry.
So, I don't know. It's just, this man is guilty of witchcraft. Only a witch could be able to decode this information.
Yeah, we live in this world now where people are like, no, reality is not what you think it is. It's what I think it is. And guess what? I have power and you don't.
That man should be entitled to millions of dollars for harassment.
They said they couldn't get a comment out of him. Like the people tried to contact him in this article. And they
Would
said,
you say anything?
If he's got a lawyer from the gene pool that produced that court case, then the lawyer's probably just like, don't say anything until we figure this out.
I spoiled this one, but yeah, the Dutch are a little bit upset because, as this story points out, Clearview AI does not exist in their country at all. And they don't benefit from it, and they don't want to be a part of it. No one asked them if they wanted to participate, but they are.
Clearview AI fined $33.7 million by Dutch data protection watchdog over illegal database of faces, including the faces of the Dutch.
Clearview just made the same arguments that I just told you. They're like, we don't operate there. We don't care. And I'm sure they don't.
It's like, but you have pictures of Dutch citizens so that if they show up internationally at international airports, we can track them. And they're like, don't worry about it.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
Now, Krista, you are a crusader for keeping children off of the screens.
Yeah. Ideally.
I've always thought that your numbers were unrealistic, but it seems like the Swedish government are pretty much on your page.
No screens before age 2, Swedish Health Authority tells parents. And even up through teenage years is like, try to limit it to 2, 3, 4 hours. It's not just for eyesight development and like physical development, but also psychological development.
Which seems like it's maybe having an impact.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, even looking aside from all the psychological, like nobody's better for having been raised on YouTube, but like kids at that young of an age, they're still developing motor skills. And if you're only ever swiping at a screen and you're not playing with blocks or other physical toys, like that can mess you up developmentally.
You don't think Fruit Ninja would be a great?
The only thing you know how to do is this. Yeah.
Fruit Ninja's probably not relevant anymore.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know what
I don't
they
know
play
mobile
now.
games.
Do people still play Flappy Bird? Probably not.
No, he deleted that himself. I'm sure there's clones. But yeah, these were, I think, non-binding government suggestions, right?
Which people will.
Yeah. Parents who were already giving their children screens at 2 are going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. Nobody's going to read that and be like, oh, am I a monster? Oh, my goodness.
There's a lot of pop-ups on this site.
And this one I just threw in because it's so much fun when you get these headlines where you think, like, how did they have the balls?
They're so tone deaf. Like, it's amazingly tone deaf.
Still in power, though.
Deutsche Bank chief tells Germans, work harder and longer so that we're more attractive as a foreign investment firm. Like, it's not like we have to keep our heads down and work really hard is basically what he was saying, so that we can get foreign investment dollars, because we're seeing a decline in foreign investment dollars and industry. And we're going to talk more about this in the collapse section on tomorrow on Tuesday.
I was
Wednesday.
I was pretty shocked that the average worker in Germany, 28 hours a week. I mean, that sounds pretty nice.
And long vacations.
Yeah, they do have a lot of vacation time in Europe.
They pay a lot of taxes, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we're about to pay a lot more taxes, too. So we don't.
We're about to pay a lot more taxes the way that we pay a lot more for healthcare and only get just a tiny, tiny smidgen more than most other places.
No, they're going to fix that pothole.
I mean, on average, but some people pay a lot more and suffer greatly.
Well, this man's going to be suffering greatly for 15 years because of a brazen scheme that amazingly worked for a really long time.
Really long.
This is the ultimate fake it till you make it.
Fake CV lands top engineer in jail for 15 years.
What baffled me about this story is, like, how did that not become apparent almost immediately?
They point out that the previous political leader kind of fomented this kind of corruption. And everybody was afraid. You know how, like, in the darkest communist countries, it got to the point where you couldn't say anything.
Right.
So I think it was kind of that. So, like, that guy's in charge now. So if I blow the whistle on him, I'm doomed.
Well, maybe I misread this, but, like, didn't he also, like, order a train that was, like, 6 inches too big? And it's like, that's such a basic thing, is, like, just taking a measurement. Like,
That's what got him busted.
yeah.
Because people started thinking, like, how could you miss that? How do you not understand
I'm
that?
a moron, and even I will look at the measurements of furniture before I buy it.
Yeah, that's pretty astonishing. But he had a lot of good years. He made a lot of money. And this social media company might be making a lot of money because they seem to be sopping up all that gravy that's spilling off the table in Brazil.
Bluesky continues to soar, adding 2 million more users in a matter of days. Mostly Brazilian users, but this is a service that's kind of like Twitter, but its logo is a butterfly, not a bird.
I haven't had a client ask to add that to their social media thing, like, in their footer yet.
Well, these people would have never discovered it either if they hadn't been forced to. I think.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've had to add, over the last few years, TikTok has become, like, one of the big ones that gets added.
Oh, yeah. And Snapchat. People love Snapchat. And Snapchat is, much like Microsoft, determined to drive you away. They're just spitting in your face and kicking you in the shins the entire time you're using their service.
Snapchat is going to put ads next to messages from your friends.
But that makes it sound less awful than it is. You're going to get inbox messages that float to the top from Snapchat that you have to open to get rid of.
Google kind of does that with Gmail sometimes,
Yeah.
which is really annoying.
Which would make you think that if they were doing, like research on UI, they'd be like, oh, that's really annoying. People don't like that.
Yeah, people immediately either they clear it or scroll right past it.
You realize that the technological friction required to steer the conversation towards, say, Taco Bell is basically non-existent at this point. So if you're talking to your friends, it can rewrite the conversation both sides so that you both end up talking about how wonderful it would be to get some Taco Bell together.
Give you a nice little coupon.
You win and the company wins. Like, you can save a little money on your Taco Bell and they can earn a little commission. What's not to love?
Well, maybe driving people toward Taco Bell could arguably be damaging to them because Taco Bell isn't good for you. I think objectively we can say
Well, no,
that.
it's good for your taste buds, but, like, nothing else.
Oh, that's true.
It's delicious.
A lot of long-term consequences for the old Taco Bell, which is weird because YouTube has never spoke out about that, have they?
Nope.
I think they operate Taco Bell ads themselves.
They do.
Don't they?
Yeah.
So, but then the opposite of Taco Bell, not okay anymore.
YouTube to restrict teenagers' exposure to videos about weight and fitness because there's fear, I guess, that it might give them a complex. Meanwhile, ads will face no such restriction. The Guardian left that part out.
Yeah.
But I assure you that if Taco Bell wants to advertise on children's videos, that will not be an issue.
Or what is it? I'll probably mention it, or we'll probably get an ad for it. Element, that everyone and their mom.
Peloton.
Not Element, like the Element water
What I'm
additives.
saying.
I see those too.
But I'm saying Peloton exercise machines, I'm sure advertise on YouTube,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they probably have some of the same kind of visuals and content that
An exercise
videos
video
have.
would.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the idea of not wanting to, like, encourage eating disorders, but I mean,
It is, I think they're going to try to restrict that to teens, which means that YouTube can target teens, which
Yeah,
they're not supposed
yeah.
to do.
Oops.
But yeah, too much. Chris, to avoid any kind of strikes on our channel, I think you're going to have to gain about 15 pounds.
That's going to be tough on me considering I'm weird about food, but
And as we mentioned, the Bluesky is picking up some things that another company is perhaps dropping, but it might not just be Brazil. Once again, there is a massive battle.
CNN headline is Advertisers plan to withdraw from X in record numbers.
I've heard this song and dance before.
Yeah, no, this is not a repeat from 2021 or 2022 or 2023. This is new.
This is a market research firm doing a survey, and probably not very accurate. CNN hates Twitter, and they will put any headline up to this. I'm not defending Twitter. I'm sure it's terrible.
The ads on Twitter can't be very expensive anymore because half of the ads I get are about some sort of Japanese mascot thing, and it's just like,
What's going on? I don't
Yeah.
even check Twitter very often anymore because it's just,
so bad.
yeah.
It is interesting how the more fringe a thing gets, the wilder the advertisements get for it. And here is maybe the story of last week. And oh boy, it's terrifying. And the most terrifying thing is the bloodthirsty way that a lot of people celebrated this. Just really celebrating their own censorship.
Telegram changes its tone on moderating private chats after the CEO's arrest. They clarified that, hey, between individual users, that is supposed to be end-to-end encrypted. We are not supposed to be able to see that. But they are adding functionality to now be able to flag those conversations to a moderator.
And soon it'll be AI.
Yes, I mean, they don't, well, they say they don't read it, but you can report a message now.
Which they'll have auto reporting based on something. Yeah. And eventually I think they will also give law enforcement access to that. I think that's probably ultimately what that was all about. It's sad. It's a little bit terrifying. You literally can't talk to people. If you are expressing wrongthink, how do you do it? Where do you do it? You have to be
In person.
just by candlelight in your home in a dark corner.
With your phone off.
Yeah, with your phone.
Because we have a story about that
Preview.
later, yeah.
It's sad.
Well,
Remember, Ben Franklin used encryption to communicate with the folks back in the colonies when he was living in France.
he's a patriot.
At the time, it was uncrackable encryption.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.